So welcome back, guys. So today we will be looking into chapter 2, research process. So research process is a step, or it is a guide that takes us to this takes us through to the process of completing a research, or what are the steps that has to be followed while you are doing a research, or what is the method of doing a research. This will be seen in this unit. So say chapter 2 is research process. Yeah, on the first side we have what are the steps, to be formed or followed while making a research process. So when it comes to research process, the formulating a research problem or extensive literacy, first we have to formulate a research problem, then we have to conduct an extensive literature survey, then we have to develop a research hypothesis, then we have to prepare a research design. Next we have to determine the sample design we are going to use in our research, then the execution of the project, like whatever we have decided in the previous step, we're going to execute that as a project. Then we're going to analyze the data, then we're going to test a hypothesis, then we're going to prepare the report or thesis. Yes, guys. So now when it comes to research process, what does research process mean? So the research process involves an activity of identifying, locating, assessing, analyzing the information you need to support your research question, and develop, and then you're gonna develop and express your ideas. So research is a process of identifying, locating, assessing, and analyzing the information you need to support your research question. So while you are making a research, you will have a research question on which you're gonna work and you're gonna find solution. So research process is that involves you to identify, locate, assess, and analyze the information to support your research question, and then you're gonna develop and you're gonna express your ideas through the process. Yes. So when it comes to first step, it's formulating a research problem. So why is it important to formulate a research problem, and how you gonna formulate a research problem? Is the two questions you're gonna arise from this one. So first question: why a research problem is important? A research problem is important because you gonna tell your target audience at what criteria or under what area of subject you are going to work, what is the matter you are going to investigate, what is the problem you are going to find solution for. So this is why the research problem is important, because you're going to give clear idea to your target audience or your readers what you are going to do with your research. So that's why formulating a research problem is important from an reader perspective of point of view. When it comes to researcher, what is the importance of formulating a research problem? Once you have a clear cut research problem, you can easily work on it, and you can easily make an analysis when you have a clear and focused research problem or a research question or a thesis. Okay, then next, in this slide we see that formulating research problems involves general area of interest. So while you're formulating a research problem, you should concentrate on areas, and in the areas which you have interest, or a subject in which you are very well versed, so that you will have a complete knowledge of that subject or an area. So while we are doing a research, you feel more comfortable and you will be knowledgeable to the same subject. Then investigating matter, you should be clear for what matter you are going to investigate, and what is the matter that is included in your research, and how it is related to your research problem. Then you're going to form a research problem. So what does this research problem includes? Research problem includes a specified research objective. Then we gonna review, or we gonna what do you say, narrate what is the nature of our research problem. Then we gonna explore the area or the subject of the problem we are going to study. Then we gonna define what is the relationship between the variables we are going to study. The best example for knowing the relationship between the variables is the demand and supply, because in most of the market studies, once we know the factors affecting the another factor, that is a dependent factor affecting the independent factor. So this what a research problem, how is this related to your research problem, that we're going to show. For the best example is how supply is going to affect the demand, how the demand and supply are going to affect the prices in the market. So those are the examples we're going to study whereas consequences of alternative course of action. So when you're finding a research problem, if you find a problem, what is the alternative course of action you're going to do for the same problem? Or what if you have some other option? What are those options are? So these are the things you have to keep in mind. And what is one more important thing while you have to keep in mind while you're making a research problem is you have to make sure that your research problem is in such a way that it is available for scientific investigation. Your research problem should be ready for a scientific investigation. Your research problem should be so clear. That's one. Then we have extensive literature survey. So what does this extensive literature survey mean? So we simply call this as a review of literature these days. So this extensive literature survey, what this is going to do is it is going to give you a research gap for your research. For an example, you're going to conduct a survey on the number of users increased in smartphones. Okay, then for doing that you will go to review the literature that has been written earlierly by other researchers. Also, what does the review of literature says? Review of literature clearly states what have they reviewed in their research and what they haven't. So you have to find the things that hasn't been reviewed or that hasn't been find out by someone else, and you're gonna conduct investigation on the same. So based on this, you're gonna get an idea on what subject we have to do, what is the subject that is not covered till now in this research area, and what is the subject we should investigate, and what is the subject that's matter for our research. So where we gonna find this extensive literature survey? So the sources are, you're gonna find it from abstracts, then you're gonna find it from indexing journals, published unpublished source, bibliographies, conference proceedings, government reports, books. So from all these sources you're gonna get the review of literature. And mostly some of the times we mostly looks into the journals and government reports while making an survey, because while making a review of literature, because the review of literature gives you a clear cut idea about the research gap you have to find out and the research gap you have to work on. So what is this research gap? Research gap is a simply a statement which 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 shows that you are finding on a thing which is not been discovered ever, so you're working on that research. It can also be called as an investigation too. So next we have developing research hypothesis. Everyone have this question, why should we develop a research hypothesis, or why hypothesis matters in our research? So the first thing is hypothesis. So what is this hypothesis? Hypothesis is an assumption drawn to find out a logical and empirical solution to a particular problem. So that is hypothesis. So why this hypothesis are required in research? Because you gonna make conclusion, you gonna draw the decisions, you gonna bring out the results based on this hypothesis. Okay, so how the hypothesis has to be formed, and what are the ways you're going to form your hypothesis, and from where you are going to form your hypothesis. Hypothesis will be formed from your own what do you say, from your own report, or from your own study, or from your own analysis. I'll tell you how in the further step. So preparing the research design. So while preparing the research design, what is the things you have to keep in mind, or what does research design mean? A research design is a map, or it is a road map that guides you to your research journey. Like what is the framework you have, what are the techniques you're gonna use, what are the methods you're gonna use, what is the data analysis techniques you are using, what is the data collection method you are using. So you're going to define all this in your research design, so it will be easy for a research design. Like once we see the research design, you will have a complete idea like how you're going to work through your research. So then we have types of research design. We have descriptive type of research design, then we have correlational, then we have experimental, then we have quasi-experimental, then we have ethnographic, cross-sectional, longitudinal, and case study. I'm not going to stress more on these topics because I'm going to explain the same topic in your next unit, chapter 3, that is research design. So I'll be skipping this for now. Yeah. determining the sample design. So while you have a research design, why do you need a sample design? So sample design is required because it is the framework or the roadmap that serves as a basis for your selection of survey sample and affects many other important aspects of survey as well. So what does the sample design does? It is going to give you a roadmap for your complete survey. So what are the types of samples? We have probability sample and then we have non-probability sample. So probability sample is where you know the what is the probability of the outcome, and whereas non-probability sampling is where you will not be aware of the outcome. Then we have execution of project. So execution of project is where we came across so many steps in our video now from past 5 months. So what was the we gonna execute all that steps in a research method or on a research project, and we should see that is it going in the correct path, or is it going as the manner we planned it to be, or is it going out of it. So is it going it is if it is going it in the correct path, then you have no risk. If it's going out of the path, then you have to make correct of it. So you're going to execute your project from here, like you're going to do all those steps we explained in the previous steps, and you're going to execute the project there. Then analysis of data. So what does analysis of data does? So we have collected the data, we have samples, we have population. So after all this, we gonna analyze the data. So how we gonna analyze the data? That's what matters. So how we gonna analyze the data is we gonna analyze data through two ways. One can be through statistical calculations, and another way could be visual representation or visual analyzation. So coding, tabulation, drawing, statisticals. So there are various ways to analyze the data. I'll be explaining very with examples and depth explanation for this analysis of data in my next video with a practical session in Excel. So you can look forward for it. Then hypothesis testing. So in the last point I told, I'll be telling you how does an hypothesis matter. So before telling you hypothesis testing, I'll be telling you how does hypothesis matter. So hypothesis is an assumption, or hypothesis is an assumption that is clearly stated to bring out a logical results to your question. So first thing, you have to make sure your hypothesis is clear and it is related to the research problem. That is first point. You should make sure that it is very clear and it is completely related to your research problem. Second thing, what is the relationship between your research problem and your hypothesis you are going to form? So that is next point. You have to find a relationship between the hypothesis and the research problem, how it is connected to each other. Then if your hypothesis is testable, how are you going to test your hypothesis? Is it T test, F test, or there are so many ways to test an hypothesis. Then we have, does your hypothesis has a dependent and independent variable? You have to state this very clearly, because only when you know what is the independent variable and what is the dependent variable in research, you can bring out a clear analysis of the data, and you can make sure that is completely completely related to your research, and you're going to get the good results out of it, because you know what is the independent variable and what is the dependent variable, and you have a clear idea about what is depending on what. Then we have, can you manipulate your variables for hypothesis testing without hampering its ethical standards? You have to make sure that, for an example, first we'll have an null hypothesis, then a constant hypothesis, then a differential hypothesis, then we're going to have a complex hypothesis. At that time, you have to make sure that the ethical standards are not hampered, or that has not been killed, or that has not been affected in any other way. Then we have, then you should make sure this point very clear, because even when you have so many of technical aspects and all in your research, and you have a very good content and all, but if the language you are going to use is not clear and focused, then then your research is not at all going to work. If you are going to keep your research with a highly professional English, and you're going to present it in some of the school or a secondary college people, they may not understand what you're talking about. So you should make sure the language you're going to use is very focused and it is very clearly understandable to your target audience. So what is the result you're going to get from this hypothesis? You're going to get two results. One is true, another one is false. The hypothesis is true or the hypothesis is false. Next one is reproducible. So reproducible is where you are going to modify this hypothesis and work on this again. Those are the three results you're going to get from your hypothesis testing. So preparation of report. So preparation of report is the final step in your research process where you are going to prepare a report from the starting point where you started from till the end steps. So we came across in the 8 steps. So you're going to combine that 8 steps in one single report and you're going to produce a report in front of the audience or in front of the company organization you are working for. So I gonna make it very simple. The preparation of report. In the preparation of the report, we'll have preliminary pages. Preliminary pages can be your introduction page, your organization page, a context or an index. Then main text, we'll have an abstract summary, review of literature, and what do you say, analysis. Then end matter, we'll have findings and suggestion, conclusions, feedbacks. So that will be your end matter. So your research report will consist of all this, and you're gonna get a complete thesis or a complete matter of understanding in this 8 steps. So this was our second unit, that is research process. If you have any questions, I'm open to it. You can always contact me at neeronj456@gmail.com. So this was a research process topic, guys. So in my next video, I'm gonna take up analysis of data with with the Excel as a source, and I'm gonna analyze the data from one of my research from my own research paper, and I'm gonna show you guys how you guys have to analyze the data while you are doing a research and how you are going to bring the output in a best visualized form. I'm gonna take data from one of the source and I'm gonna make a visual presentation of what is going to happen or what will be the next step for analyzing the data, and how can we format data analysis, and what are the ways we can use data analysis for, and what are the types of data analysis method we have in the best visualized form, and what is the best formatting way you can make while you are analyzing the data that can attract your viewers or the company organization. So thank you guys. This was my intro, like explanation for the chapter 2. If you guys have any doubts or if you guys have any queries, you can contact me at the email ID I mentioned in the last unit slide. That's neeronj456@gmail.com. So I'll respond to your queries. Thank you guys.